Are you ready for us?
You are now joining the meeting.
All right.
This meeting is being recorded and/or transcribed.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for December the 15th. We have a few changes to our agenda tonight, and I guess I should maybe mention that it's Ugly Sweater Night at the Board of Aldermen meeting. So if you feel like Santa is leading the meeting, perhaps he is. Let's just blame it on him. So a few changes to your agenda tonight. On the consent agenda, if you would add a letter K to consider hiring a building and grounds employee. If you will add at letter 7A, presentation of Lifesaver Awards. If you would please move item 31 up to 10A. And if you would add to 22A, a parade permit that Sheridan will present when he comes up. Are there any other changes that I've missed? Bart, you have anything? Okay, I believe those are the changes. We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
All right. All right, thank you. All right, a quick mayor's report tonight. Do what? All in favor? Oh, yeah. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, there you go. Thank you. See, the mask has already messed me up. A quick mayor's report. I just want to thank all of the city departments that made the Holly Jolly Holidays event a success this past Friday through Sunday. Obviously, Visit Oxford led the way, but there were so many departments involved in making that successful, in volunteering. I think every department in the city had a hand in making that a great event. I saw some numbers this morning. We had 978 skaters Friday to Sunday, and the amount of thought and work that went into making this a safe event with registrations to be made and lines managed and that kind of thing was amazing. We had 188 carriage riders and 65 kids visited with Santa. And I don't know if you saw any pictures from it, but Jimmy Allgood even made a huge PVC pipe candy cane that Santa dropped the candy through, so there was no sitting in Santa's lap or touching Santa. So it was as safe and as fun as it could be, and so thank you to all of you who had a hand in that. And I have already heard from several different business owners downtown that it was a great weekend for them, and that was our goal, is to support our small businesses and bring people to eat and shop in the downtown area. So thank you for that. Next, we will move to authorizing the approval of the minutes of the recess meeting on November the 23rd and the regular meeting on December 1st.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the addition of letter K, hiring someone in building and grounds.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, at this point in time, we look forward to every year having a ceremony to not only recognize an employee, but to remember Virginia Crestman, who served as our city clerk for many years. She was the city clerk when I was hired to be the tourism director back in 1994, and she taught me the ropes. And tonight we have Lee and Mel Crestman with us, who always present this award, and it usually is at a ceremony in the afternoon and followed by lunch, but COVID just has different plans for us these days. Amberlyn Lyles is here to present the award with the Crestmans, but I want to tell you just a little bit about Charles Ivey first. Charles Ivey was actually nominated by two different people. The Environmental Service Department nominated Charles Ivey for the Virginia H. Crestman Award. Charles has been with the city for 32 years. His job title is front-end loader, but he does so much more than that. He is at work on time every day and rarely ever misses work. And the other person that nominated him said that he was the very first person there every single day. Every time we call Charles in after his shift or on the weekend to empty a dumpster, he is quick to say, okay. We never have to check in behind him. Charles goes above and beyond all the time for his supervisors and his coworkers. He's a great team player and shows leadership when needed. He's the one to train all new hires and existing employees. Charles is always smiling and has the best attitude while at work, no matter how stressful or long the day has been. He's very attentive to the public while servicing businesses and apartment complexes. He's also worked double-decker for many years. He works the whole time and harder than most of the crew. Charles, we are so appreciative for all the service that you have provided over the past 32 years to the city of Oxford. Every time I see you, whether it's driving down the road or on the side of the road doing something, I've not seen you ever without a smile. And he even let me drive a garbage truck one day. So, and I scared him to death. But we do appreciate you so much, and we appreciate the Crestmans, and we look forward to remembering Virginia every year when we present this award. And so thank you to y'all, and I will turn it over if, Mel, if you want to say anything.
No, I'll take my son, I believe.
Okay.
Well, my brother usually is here to give the speech, and I give away the award, but since he's not here this year, I wanted to say a few words and thank all the department heads. I had a myriad of qualified applicants this year to choose from, and of course, like you mentioned, Charles was actually nominated twice. So next year and for years to come, you know, keep up the good work. Long-standing, loyal, energetic, happy employees, you know, just exemplify what this award is for.
Absolutely.
And just keep up the good work. And with that, I want to present Charles with a check for $1,000.
Charles. Can we get a picture before you, can we get a picture of you and Amberlyn and Mel and Lee before you, hey Rick, will you stand up? Sorry. And Kara can grab one too, either way. I'm just, gotta be sure we have a picture of this moment. I'll lay down in the back. So you don't have a Santa head.
Hey, Jason, go. People think Jason throws the ball.
And we're back. Thank y'all. Thank you, Crestmans, and thank you, Charles Ivey, for being exactly the mentor that our younger employees need, and just for being a rock star all the time. We sure love you and appreciate you. All right, at this point in time, I also have the privilege of recommending some folks for our Lifesaver Award. I cannot overestimate what just an amazing group of folks we have as first responders in the police department and the fire department. On November 22nd, 2020, first responders were dispatched to Oxford Way for a welfare concern. When officers arrived on scene, they found one person in critical condition suffering from a gunshot wound. Officer Rowan Buchanan began administering first aid as well as attempting to stop the bleeding. When firefighters arrived, they too began giving additional medical assistance until the emergency medical team arrived. Once paramedics arrived, they were able to get the individual stable and transported to the hospital. During the initial follow-up with medical professionals, they praised the work of our first responder team. The outcome may have ended differently if not for the quick and accurate response and teamwork of each team member. These first responders were instrumental in saving this individual's life. And I know that Rowan Buchanan is not here with us tonight, but Officer Rowan Buchanan, and then from the fire department, Timmy Dickinson, Adam Gafford, Sammy Woodall, Patrick Mastro, and then Jamie Roy and Caleb Mathus, who are paramedics. So if y'all will come forward, we'd appreciate it. it is really hard for us to imagine what you all handle every single day, just in the course of your normal work day. We could not thank you enough for getting up and putting that uniform on days that you deal with terrible things and have to show back up the next morning and do it all over again. We thank you. And especially now at the holiday season, when we know that so many of you are not going to be at home on Christmas morning. You'll miss meals, you're missing Christmas shows at school, you're missing birthday parties, all those things. I want you to know that's not lost on us. And we appreciate you more than you know. Appreciate you for bravely serving and for saving somebody's life. And y'all, I know that happens more often than not. And so thank you so much for all you do. Okay, Jason, and I'll duck again.
Jason, we didn't see your ears last night.
All right, at this time, we will have a quarterly update from Mississippi Critters, if Jim Peterman is here.
I don't see either Jen or Ashley. I can do this. I was
Okay. Yeah, she emailed us this afternoon.
Yeah, I know. They're just overwhelmed.
The reports. No, that's fine.
Yeah, the reports are on your, in front of you. You can look at the animal control report. It's nothing different. Of course, they only pick up animals in the city, but they do get calls from the county and from other counties.
Okay.
Yeah. The second page is the animal count. Things are a little bit better now that the feral cats have stopped having kittens for a little while, but it'll get bad again in the spring.
Right.
But they continue to transport large numbers of animals, and they have had an exceptionally large number of adoptions since COVID-19 is keeping people at home. And the other day I was at the shelter, and I want everybody to know they have a wonderful assortment of puppies. They usually have a lot of kittens, but right now they have some beautiful puppies, and they're going to be open on Christmas Eve if somebody needs to pick up a puppy for a child.
The perfect Christmas gift.
It is, especially with people being at home. You know, if you've ever wanted a puppy but figured, well, I can't do it because I have to go to work, and if you're working from home, now is the time to adopt a puppy. The financials are on the next 2 pages, and you can look those over, and if you have any questions about them, you can give Natasha a call. She does the financials. And everything's going fine at the shelter.
Perfect.
So, anybody, any questions for me? Okay, you're welcome.
I like that idea. Like now's the perfect time. I mean, you got,
Perfect. It is.
I mean, people are gonna be on there at least another 3 months.
Sure. You know, you can house train them and everything while you're at home.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thank you, Janice, for giving us that report. We will now discuss our COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines, which is what we leave on our agenda for every meeting so that we revisit the numbers and get any input that any aldermen have on suggested changes that we need to make. I think it's important for the community to know that as of right now, we are strictly following the governor's executive order that came in Executive Order 1525 and then was extended with Executive Order 1526. In that order, we have the mandatory mask mandate and all of the other safety requirements that we are following. The only thing that is different between the governor's executive order and what this board has adopted in a resolution is that The number in the groups, the governor's order and ours are both the same in that it is a limit of 10 people indoors, but ours is a requirement of no more than 25 outdoors, and the governor's is 50. And so that is the only difference between our resolution and the governor's executive order. So bars and restaurants are allowed to be open until 11 p.m. You still have to be seated to be served a drink. You still have to have tables with 6 feet apart. So if you'd like to look at those exact specifications, his order is of course located on our website. But I've asked Jimmy Allgood to come up here, and it's hard for us to take each other seriously in these get-ups, but to give us an update, as we always do, on where we are with our COVID numbers.
You've got a handout that shows the past 14 days, even though there's been a spike statewide and everything, our numbers, because of the restrictions we've had in place and constantly following them, you can see that we're a lot lower than our neighboring communities. One thing, as of today, we are the 4th lowest occurrence of cases per 100,000 in the state. Yesterday we were at 3. Today we're at 4. We're running about 36 occurrences per 100,000. We're on the upper end. People are running 115 to 120 occurrences per 100,000. Today's numbers on the sheet, the state had 2,205 cases with 48 deaths. We had 29 new cases, which put us up to 3,700 total cases with no deaths. And our active case list as of today is 220 active cases in the community.
You know, one number, Jimmy and I were talking about this earlier, and Janice and I talked about it on Sunday. You know, we get to the point where we keep reporting, this is the number of cases each day, and this is our total number of cases, and no deaths or 1 or 2 deaths. And I think it's so important for us to stop and think about the fact that we have had 67 total deaths in our community. Those are Lafayette County community members that we have lost since last March. And I just don't want that fact to be lost on us. There are people that aren't going to get to spend the holidays with their loved ones because they're in the hospital or because they have lost them to COVID over the past few months. And I don't want us to become where we're just looking at numbers. We're looking at people's lives that have lost their lives because of this terrible virus. So anyway, I think that's important for us to all keep in mind, especially right now. A few other things I'm going to go over. I'm going to get Jimmy to stay in case anybody has any questions. Just the hospital information. As of yesterday, the 14th, we still had 181 total beds that were staffed. That we had 48 patients in the hospital that had COVID, and there were 39 beds available for anybody that came in. We have 24 manned ICU beds. We had 5 people in ICU yesterday who were in there for COVID-related reasons, and there were 9 ICU beds available. I want to try to clear up just some of the misinformation that we keep hearing and getting calls about, and it is so confusing, and it is also a moving target. I mean, the hospital capacity changes every hour. You know, I mean, people are moving from either they had a surgery that was just to be there for the day surgery, and so they were taking up a bed during the day, but they checked out that night at 7 o'clock, but these reports were sent in at noon. We have so many that are in ICU, and then they move to a step down, and then they move to a regular bed, or that are discharged after, you know, the time that the report is done. So from talking to Bill Henning at the hospital, I know that it is a very fluid situation. By the time we see these numbers, before they hit send, it's already changed. So know that. We have seen numerous reports of people saying that there are no ICU beds in Mississippi. The best I can tell, that report is coming out of the University of Mississippi Medical Center. And I believe in their system, they keep reporting that there are no ICU beds available, but that's just in their system. That is not statewide. When they say statewide, they mean in their system statewide. So our hospital has not been at a point where they have ever have had to turn any person away that has come to our emergency room. And I think that's very important for our citizens to understand. We don't want people to think they can't go to the hospital because there's no room. We don't want them to stay at home and develop a worse health issue than they have. So know that Bill Henning continues to confirm that there is no one being turned away from our emergency room. So anyone who is sick or in need of any medical assistance should go. We have been listed on the diversion list. So a lot of people have posted on social media, oh, we are full, in fact, because look, they're diverting people to other hospitals. Well, they start diverting patients who want to transfer from smaller hospitals that are around us. You're in a smaller county hospital, you have an issue that there's not a physician there that is a specialist to handle. They would typically transport you to our Baptist Memorial Hospital, North Mississippi. We aren't taking those patients if our beds are, limited. They're not waiting until they're full to start diverting patients. They're being sure that they can take care of our community as people come into the emergency room. So when you see us on the diversion list, it just means the hospital is being very cautious and making sure that all of our beds aren't full from hospitals that are transferring people in. So I asked Jimmy two other things we've gotten a lot of questions about that I want to address if we can. One is the vaccine. When will it get here? People were sending us questions saying that they heard that the state of Mississippi was not going to let the Pfizer vaccine be given in Mississippi. I have no idea where stuff like that comes from. That's completely false. But those are the questions that we get. So I'm going to get Jimmy just to give you a quick update on what we know about vaccines.
Right. On Monday the 14th, the vaccine got into the state and started being distributed by the state health department to level 1 facilities, which are hospitals, healthcare facilities, and nursing homes. And they're administering the vaccine now. It's ongoing, and as it rolls down, it'll roll down to level 2, 3, 4 facilities, then the first responders and people that are high risk within the communities. If you have any questions about how this plan is being laid out on the State Health Department website, the vaccination plan is available, and it details who gets the vaccine and in what order that the vaccine will be given. But it is here, it is being administered right now, and now for the general population, we are being told that it will take several months for it to get down to the general population, because we've got to protect our critical infrastructure, we've got to protect our hospitals and our nursing homes and healthcare facilities first. But then it'll roll down to the general population. So it is here and it is being administered.
All right, and then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are the 4 regional centers in the state, are they considered level 1?
We are a level 2 here in Oxford. It's all based on your capacity to handle trauma, whether you're a level 1, level 2, level 3 trauma center.
But you're talking about hospitals, you're talking about regional center.
I'm talking about as far as getting it earlier, regional.
Like North Mississippi.
Oh, like North Mississippi, right. They would be in the first groups that get it because they're at the high risk.
So like us, Ellisville, South Mississippi.
Correct. Now, as far as within that tier 1, that number 1 group, they may be toward the bottom of the 1 group, because right now the emphasis is to protect the healthcare system and get it into the hospitals that are actively treating COVID patients.
The concern has been in all states, but in ours, there are 217 beds at our hospital, but only 181 are manned, okay, because that's all the staff that's available to man those beds. So the concern is that as they have different areas of the hospital that they can convert into beds, and they've got the outpatient surgical center and the diagnostic center and different places that are easily converted into beds, but there's no staff to work in those places. And so that, it becomes a staffing issue. So that's, my understanding is that we certainly need to protect those doctors
and the regional centers, they are on the equivalent with the hospitals, just a little bit below them, because they are a more at-risk population than the general population.
So I assume the veterans home would be in
Yes,
that
ma'am.
category.
The veterans home, the nursing homes, Oxford Health and Rehab, they'll be in that top tier group for the staff and the residents, not just the staff, but the staff and the residents would receive those vaccinations.
Okay. I asked Bart also to give us a quick update, or does anybody have another question for Jimmy before? Okay, Bart's gonna give us a quick update on the wastewater. I've brought that up when we've given video updates, and we've brought it up in meetings, and we get a lot of questions about it, and I'm gonna ask Bart to kind of give you an overview.
All right, so starting back in October, we started submitting samples with Professor Matteo on campus to have them tested for COVID in wastewater. We were hoping that was going to give us an indication of when we would see surges in our community based on the amount of cultures found in our wastewater. Well, as with the early part of the pandemic, you know, the lab ends up being the issue, getting the results back. He has started with a lab in Wisconsin, has now started using a lab in Nebraska. And early on, it appeared that the amount of cultures in the wastewater were tracking along just identically with with the COVID that we're seeing in our community. And what that showed us early on, or what we thought it showed us, was that, you know, we were fearful that folks weren't getting tested, that the reason our numbers were low based on the amount of positive COVID tests in our community was that folks just weren't getting tested. Well, that proved not to be true, or what we thought, based on the amount of cultures in our wastewater. Well, more recently, those numbers have stopped lining up with the last few tests that we received from the lab in Nebraska. If it's accurate, then it's showing a peak about it's showing about a 14-day lag, which really isn't giving us much, and we don't really have enough samples to know if that's accurate or not. But there was a surge in our wastewater back on November the 5th. Well, we've now have saw a surge in our COVID cases a little bit in around November the 21st, based on Lafayette County. So I just wanted to tell you that we are still looking at that, and we are still tracking it, but I'm not sure it's going to be as beneficial as we was hoping, and because of such a delay in the results.
Is that the delay in getting the results, or is it because if you see the surge in the wastewater on November 5th, that should be an early detection before symptoms?
Well, you
would expect to see testing to be that 2 weeks later.
With the early results, so it was showing about a 7-day lag. Well, now that's showing a 14 days. So that's the part that's getting really confusing on, okay, so what is it showing us? And if we had, you know, if you had 100 data points, then that would be pretty easy to determine. But we're only looking at about 8, and so it's really difficult to tell what we're seeing.
I think in a different community, Tupelo or somewhere else, but a community like us where you have more than 50% of the students, probably 75% of the students never got tested. I just think that you can't judge anything like this.
So, you know, with more data points, we would know that, but we just, you know, with the limited data we have, we just don't,
Yeah, it's not producing the cut and dry, data that we had hoped it would for numerous reasons. But I also wanted the public to have an update, because we have mentioned that we were testing the wastewater and we have not given a public update. So I just wanted to make sure.
And we're continuing to do it. We're sending samples off every Friday. Those samples are going to Nebraska every Friday, along with the university's samples from their wastewater plant. So.
Yeah, we'll keep doing it. But
do keep doing it, because at some point.
We send them on Friday.
Well, initially it was about a week, and the last few has been 3 or 4 weeks. So
yeah, it was 4 weeks before we got the last. I mean, by then, that's right. I mean, you miss.
We're hoping it to be an early warning to see a surge.
That's right.
And if it takes that long to get it back, you're hoping to see it 7 to 10 days early. It takes you 2 to 3 weeks to get it back.
That's right. That's kind of where we are, but I just wanted everybody to have that update, because we've mentioned it.
From our November the 19th test. That's how far.
Yeah. So, thank you, Bart. Does anybody else have any questions? Do you have anything you want to discuss requirements-wise? Again, I think that Oxford and Lafayette County are in a great spot compared to the rest of the state as far as our numbers go, and where our hospital capacity is. But yes, John?
You mentioned that the only different provision we have is the 25 outside.
That's right.
Is the county just following the governor's orders?
I'm not certain.
And John, you remember what we talked about when we did that? Our backyards where people gather in town, they're not gonna hold 50.
I just was curious if the county was following us or the government.
Probably the governors, I would imagine, since they haven't said anything differently.
Yeah, I have not asked.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it published, so. All right, so we will move to authorizing an appointment to the Municipal Election Commission. We're excited that Joseph Murphy is willing to serve in that spot. Last week, 2 weeks ago, mentioned that Jim Stevens had resigned from that spot. So I would recommend Joseph Murphy to you to fill that spot, and they will have a training the first week in January, so. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and now we will move item 31, which is discuss the TIF proposal for the Lamar. We will move it up to 10A. We'll let Bart get us started, and I know Mac and Chris are on the back row, so we'll turn it over to y'all quickly.
So when we left last time, y'all were asking for, well, a couple of different things. Number one, a breakdown on what the funds would be spent for in totality, and then also options, I'm gonna say of lesser cost to the city. Well, today I emailed you and I laid on your desk a hard copy of the recent proposal, and it actually lays out two options for TIF funding. Option one is a $2.5 million overall cost, so the bonds that would be issued would be a $2.5 million. You can see in that option one, about $2.1 million is actual infrastructure cost, and then an estimated $350,000 in issuance cost. Option two.
What's in the issuance cost?
That's all your bonding fees, just like we normally do a bonding fee. Legal fees, financial advisor fees, all the fees that we typically see with our bonds. Under option two, you'll notice that there are a couple of more infrastructure items included, such as the sidewalks on North Lamar, sidewalks along Chickasaw, some lighting, and that brings a total infrastructure cost to about $2.5 million, which would put an overall bonded amount of about $2.9 million. And I'll try to answer any questions if you just, and like the mayor said, Mac and Chris are both here, if you want to ask them questions. And I believe the next step is if you choose one of these options, or if you propose another option, that we move forward with resolutions, and Chris can lay that out for you, how we move forward.
Anybody have any questions or comments before?
Either one of these options have infrastructure or improvements inside?
Yes, they're, well, one of them had the Main Street, I thought I saw, which is the main road through the Lamar, and maybe that's something that Chris or Matt should come up and address, but I'm assuming some of that utility work is probably inside.
Is that the roadway? Is that the Main Street?
Yes, ma'am, roadway and utility version, that's it, yes, ma'am. In both of them, that 390 in both of them is the main street inside.
Looking at option one and option two, I mean, if we're looking at the difference of $400,000, we're going to pick up sidewalk improvements on two heavily traveled roads, well, one real heavily traveled road and the other one is pretty, and lighting.
And lighting.
And lighting, yeah.
Where do you see the two sidewalks?
More than more sidewalk.
Sidewalks on both North Lamar and Chickasaw. I mean, I'd look at going toward option two, just to pick up the sidewalks.
Well, option two certainly benefits the most taxpayers.
Right.
I mean,
I don't have an idea how in the world Laura, I told you this when I called you today, how that you can, that the Chickasaw sidewalk from all the way up there down to the bottom, you can do for $92,000.
Yeah, and that's just their engineer's estimate. That's all you would agree to reimburse them if they agree to do it.
That's it. And the lighting where would the lighting be? Would it be on North Lamar or Chickasaw or
I
what?
believe the lighting is probably within the Lamar development itself. It's the street lightings along their main street is what I believe it
And
is.
out on the roundabout, I'm sure. Last time I went through, it was really dark right there.
Yeah, would it be on the roundabout?
I hope, right.
Well, maybe they could
They're
answer.
there,
Yeah.
they're back here to answer that question. It is on the Main Street and the roundabout is what Mac was nodding to.
I'd make a motion to accept option 2 or move forward with option 2.
Second. And we'll can work out all the details on
Yeah.
what each one of those are when we come back with the
The
resolution.
motion here is just to move forward.
Just to move forward. It's not to do the TIF, it's to move forward to the next.
Yeah, we want to see a lot more detail.
Correct, all right. So we had a motion and a second to move forward with further details and documentation. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mac and Chris. Request permission to apply for the 2021-2022 5311 grant for Oxford University Transit. Donna? Bless you.
Hello.
Hey there.
So yes, we are asking permission to apply for the 5311 grant for the 21-22 fiscal year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to advertise the intent to apply for the 2021-22 5311 grant for Oxford University Transit per FTA guidelines.
So this goes into the newspaper under the public notice, giving people the opportunity to ask questions, email me questions if they have any prior to us applying.
Motion made.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, and then the next is to request permission to approve the 21-22 budget for OUT as approved by MDOT.
So it hasn't actually been approved by MDOT, but it does have to go to them by January 3rd, and then we will have a budget negotiation toward the end of end of January, and then they will approve it sometime July, August. It is just a slight bit more than what it was last year, because I had to go up on some fuel and repair on buses as we run the older buses. 12 plus hours a day, we're gonna have repairs.
Right. Okay. Anybody have questions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for being here, Donna. Braxton, you want to come up? Request permission to adopt the 2020 health insurance and cafeteria rate plans for city employees.
All right, I'm only going to discuss the major changes as you all have the rates in your packet. This year, our city was really stressful in our health benefit plan. In fact, in the middle of the year, I was contacted by Morgan White and said we were facing a 20% rate increase. At that time, we held off and waited a couple more months, and they came back and said, well, it's going to be probably around 16% rate increase to our premiums. At that time, we asked Morgan White to put out a request for proposals to see if any company would be cheaper. They came back, and Blue Cross was still the cheapest bid. It was going to be an increase to our annual premium of $284,000. At that time, we started renegotiating our plan, and we came back, and we're actually saving the city $515,000.
How about that
Yeah,
turn?
that's really.
Yay, Braxton. I'm telling y'all, he won't take credit for much, this one, but he has worked so hard on this to save the city money and to provide the best medical care that we could to our employees. And it has been hours and hours of headaches and work. And so, Braxton, we are so thankful. I know you've got more to present, but I want the board to know that it has not been a simple 1, 2, 3 as he just laid it out. It has been many hours of dedication trying to figure out how to take care of our employees and to not break the bank.
Thank you. But the most exciting thing about this year is for years now, we've been trying to find a way to help our healthcare system by getting a clinic or helping with prescription drugs. And this year we were able to do that as well. Morgan White was able to get us on a Rural America grant that will allow our employees to go to a clinic in West Oxford Loop and receive cheaper healthcare services from dental and healthcare. For example, if we go to any clinic in town, we'll still use our old rate of $40 for copay. If we go there, it'd be $20. But if we get our prescription drugs from there, the highest we'll ever pay for a prescription drug will be $25, where our current plan is $90. It's right behind Ross Family Dental on West Oxford Loop. It's a brand new clinic. So our employees will be able to get cheaper dental care there and cheaper health care. It's all based off of salaries or income, but everyone that will see a reduced healthcare rate by using this clinic. And we have the ability to utilize this for up to 9 years. So this could benefit us for years to come. Another thing is our dental insurance rates went down 5%. And all other insurances stayed the same. Other than Morgan White, it went up to take a bigger gap plan, but it was including that health care.
And we anticipate a lot of our employees will still utilize the exact same clinics and physicians and all that they are using right now, and that will remain the same and will be great. But we have some employees that, because of the copay, have not been to the dentist in many years, don't go to the doctor when they're sick because they know they can't afford the prescription that's going to get them well, so why would they pay to go to the doctor? And this is going to help some of our employees go to the doctor that have needed to for so long and get in better health and get the prescriptions that they need and the dental care that they need. And Braxton's worked all this out. All the credit goes to Braxton, but it is just a wonderful service now that will be provided to our employees. And so we thank you so much, Braxton.
I do need that accepted.
Yep, we need a motion to accept our $500,000 savings and health care for employees.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Braxton. Request permission to declare equipment surplus in the Environmental Services Department and authorize its disposal. Do you have any questions for Amberlyn on that? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Amberlyn. Request permission to declare equipment surplus in the Oxford Park Commission and authorize its disposal. Y'all have any questions for Seth? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Seth. Review and consider acceptance of a bid for a flatbed truck chassis in the Oxford Utilities Water and Sewer Department. Rob Neely. Sorry, we called Rob Neely.
Good evening. We did a reverse auction last week and had one bidder on a flatbed chassis that we're going to use for a dump truck in the Water and Sewer Division. The bid came in at $74,000. Our budget is $80,000 for that vehicle, so I'm requesting your approval.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much.
You should just wear that all the time.
You too, Bailey. Consider a request from Oxford First United Methodist Church to waive the fees for a temporary certificate of occupancy. Our building official, Chris Carter, is going to come up.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to assume that all of the board read my brief synopsis of the scenario. The Oxford First United Methodist Church started building their church actually a couple of years ago. I don't have the exact date. They finished it up for the most part back in March. We issued them a temporary certificate of occupancy March the 10th. Then shortly thereafter, COVID-19 virus came into play, so they were denied the use of their facility for some few months just based on the restrictions that were in place with COVID. We, the board, they initially had a 30-day temp CO. Again, COVID jumped in there. The board, somewhere in the meanwhile, decided to grant some relief for a lot of the deadlines through the building and the planning department. We felt like church would certainly qualify for that relief, which got them to the end of the year for their first temporary CO. So the expiration of that thing's coming up here in a couple of weeks. This being the last board meeting before the end of the year and before the expiration of their TCO, they would like to request a waiver of the fees for the second 30-day period of their temp CO. The waiver, well, I'm sorry, guys. Winter. Thank you, John. 700, right at $800 waiver.
But they're actually asking for 60 days.
No, that's Chris's recommendation. That's the staff proposes.
I think with what they like getting done, given the time of year, if we could do, my proposal would be to consider giving them 60 days, do a waiver for 60 days, which would total a waiver of 1,900 and some change. They should be able to get everything finished, the things that are lacking within that time frame. That would, again, my proposal is for a one-time waiver of 60 days. So future, if they don't get finished, future TCO requests would probably be best not brought to the board.
So just, so I understand it, so we're just waiving, basically, we're just giving them more time. They still basically have to pay all this at the end, right?
No. They're asking for a waiver of the fees.
As well as the temporary school.
Find out, if they need it again.
I have to.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we request the, what they asked.
Are you saying that you want, they're asking for a one-time waiver? What I believe the staff believes is that's for 30 days, and that probably it will not be done in 30 days. And so to keep them from having to come back again in 30 days to ask for another waiver, staff was proposing that if the board was in favor of waiving the fees, that it'd be a 60-day and be allotted as a one-time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, for the 60 days.
Yeah.
The wait.
So they finish in 60 days? I mean,
With what they,
Right, I mean, will they finish in 60 days?
I think 60 days gives them ample time to finish. Whether or not they do it or not, that monkey's on their back, so to speak. They're the ones that are gonna have to push their contractor to finish.
10 weeks from today, that's only 2 weeks.
so it was this year.
Yeah.
Correct. It would give them to the end of February, essentially, is what I'm proposing.
I second that motion.
Well,
I'm sorry, Rick?
Is the contract here?
Don't see him, no. I think there may be a couple of members of the church here. If y'all had a question for them, I see a hand raised back there.
do you think it can be done in 60 days, I guess would be the question.
Based on what I have seen that needs to be done, 60 days should be ample time.
Okay.
Jason seconded it
And
already.
I don't have a problem with it, I'm just curious, because we always talk about message, how we treated, I know we had y'all's church and you had to recuse yourself from fees.
They actually removed it from the agenda.
I'm just curious, but we've done this kind of thing for other churches.
We have
In
not.
school, we've done it for somebody recently. Was it a school?
Yes, ma'am, schools,
Both school systems. have-
both of them, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, these are difficult and strange times, so, you know, things like this are necessary.
Yeah. Okay, so the motion is for a suspension of the temporary occupancy fees for 60 days. And we have a second. So are there any other comments? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so have 60-day waiver of those temporary occupancy fees. Sorry, getting back to my spot. Okay, second reading and public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 22, Article 1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oxford to add an administrative fee for stop work orders. Chris?
I believe Hollis brought this to y'all at your last meeting. I was not able to be here. This is just the public comment section. We're proposing to add a $50 administrative fee to stop work orders that may have to be issued for whatever reason.
All right, board, what are your, y'all have any input?
Well, I think it sounds good, this, we have a public hearing.
Well, yeah, is there anyone here from the public that is here to speak on this item? Public comment? No?
Here, none, I'll make a motion to approve.
What's a second?
Waive the third reading.
Oh, waive the third reading, okay.
I'll second that.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Consider the recommendation from the Downtown Parking Advisory Commission, sorry, my thing just jumped, for Phase 2 of the downtown parking signage project and revise the parking enforcement budget to cover the project costs. Matt?
Yes, ma'am. So back in June, we actually did Phase 1 of the kind of downtown parking sign project. This was to get a little bit better signage, legible signage, bigger signs, more signs. And kind of after that first Phase 1, we did an assessment. We took in kind of feedback from the public, from people receiving tickets. Did the signs help? Did it not? Did you see them? And this is kind of what we came up with during our meetings with DIPAC is we still needed some signs in certain locations, but certain ones we needed double-sided. Some people weren't seeing them. And then we also needed to change the verbiage on some. We had some people kind of not get used to public parking as free. And so we probably need to change those to pay to park. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Our second phase, if you look in your packet with a total overall cost with new signs, mounting hardware and labor, we're looking at $13,778, of which was not budgeted. That's kind of the crux of this. We will need to ask for a revision to our budget to cover that cost, and that's kind of what we're looking at the moment.
Now, what caused it to be additional funds required?
We were hoping that Phase 1 would cover everything that we're looking at, but after Phase 1 was done and we started getting some feedback in the office, we did notice that we had some areas that needed additional signing and different verbiage, and this is kind of what we came up with.
People coming in saying, I parked in that lot, but I didn't know I had to pay, that kind of thing.
Whether it was legitimate or not, this is, with us, we kind of got the same complaint each time, and so it kind of makes sense to do this. So we have some new signs, we have some double signs, some new mounting hardware, and then we actually had 6 new poles. We actually missed those on the first part. That was kind of my fault there. Just trying to make sure that we covered everything all at one time, and just a few things fell through the cracks. So like I said, the cost of this would be $13,778. And the Downtown Parking Advisory Commission, they actually voted on this the last time to bring it before you to not to exceed $20,000. And Mark Levy was able to get that number down. We were kind of scared it was gonna be close to 20, and Mark got it all the way down to $13,778. So there was a bright side in that.
Good deal. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Great.
Thank you very
Matt.
much.
Consider a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen requesting the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission extend the hours for alcohol service for Super Bowl, whatever that is, on Sunday, February 7th, 2021. What is it? An Elsa 5, okay, sorry. Need to dust up on my Roman numerals, apparently. Okay, DC, take us through it.
Okay, this is something we do every year. We just extend alcohol sales just for the Super Bowl weekend, the particular on that Sunday. This is routine for the board to do.
We just extend it to 11?
Yes.
Right, well, right now, the governor's order goes past,
Do we need to make a motion or just in case it changes? I don't think it changes.
He might, I mean, we do need to make a motion, as long as it complies with the governor's
So
order.
moved that we do this and extend it to the governor's order not to exceed 1 o'clock.
Second.
11.
I think
Well, I'm saying,
11.
whatever the governor's order is, there may be, the governor may say, oh, what would be our latest for time we can do it anyway on Sunday?
On Sunday, 12.
9 is
Not now.
our alcohol.
Not to exceed 12 o'clock.
11 o'clock, why?
That's gonna get it either way, it doesn't even matter what the governor does. The Super Bowl starts at 5.
I don't understand.
I'm saying we just need to make a motion for it to go to 11.
That's what the governor's order is right now.
Right.
But I'm saying even if.
Ours,
We need to go to what the governor's order is.
Just leave it at 11.
yeah, our Sunday hours are until 9 o'clock when there is no pandemic. So that, I mean, that's still an extension of time for,
So we go to 11.
okay? So your motion is to 11 o'clock. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, request permission for the Oxford Police Department to apply for and accept the Walmart Community Grant in the amount of $2,000.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? We have a parade permit, it's not actually a parade, but falls under our permits, that was submitted, that will happen before our next meeting. DC, you wanna?
Yes, we have a request from Fish Robinson with Community Church to utilize amplified sound for singing Christmas carols on the steps of City Hall on December 24th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission for the mayor and chief of police to sign the 2020-2021 interlocal agreement for the Lafayette County Metro Narcotics Unit.
Any changes?
No, sir.
No change.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, yep. Consider change order number 5 from Andy Fournier Construction for the North Lamar Pocket Park project.
I saw the water feature is operational in there.
Have you seen it? Have you walked in to see it? It is
Looks good.
amazing.
So neat.
We're keeping it running all the time because it's 27 degrees
Right.
outside. This hopefully is the last change order for the North Lamar Pocket Park. As you said, the reflection pond was filled this week. Fountains are running, the construction crews are working all the available hours to finish the park. This change order for your consideration is for the benches on the site. We're proposing 6 benches. They're 72-inch jar wood benches from a reputable company that does projects like this really all over the world. They complement the contemporary style of the park, and we think they soften the concrete elements of the park. The price per bench is roughly equal to the donation price of the green metal benches that are around the square. If approved, the contractor will mount the benches to the park, to the surface of the park, and I included a budget for the park that includes the sidewalk project, and as you can see, we're well within budget, even with this addition. The deadline's tomorrow. We've had some rain days, but we expect it to be done hopefully by the end of the week. Tomorrow. The deadline for the park's tomorrow. They had a few rain days between the last change order and this one, but the deadline's tomorrow. So I expect them to be finished Friday, Saturday. Not sure when we'll do a grand opening, but hopefully soon.
Mark, the benches are nice.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, you've got pictures of
Don't
them.
you think they'll be
Yeah.
pretty with all that
I think they'll be
concrete?
great.
I think they'll be great.
Yeah, so just need a motion.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Wonderful. Mark has done an amazing job managing that project and designing that project, so
Thank
thank
you.
you very
Thanks.
much.
We're talking about,
Yep.
we had an agreement back when we first started this park to name the park after the person who donated the money to the parents. And I think it's time that we kind of glance through that. And I know Janice kind of brought up the idea of naming it after the literary side also, so I'm gonna make a motion that we name this park Morgan Literary Park.
I'll second.
All right. Is there any comment or discussion?
I just didn't know we were ready to name it yet.
No.
Okay.
It's the first I've heard of it as
Yeah.
well.
I just think we're, at that time, I mean, we accepted this donation over 3 years ago.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. consider a proposal for Precision Engineering for the design of a retaining wall at the North Lamar Pocket Park.
Okay, this is the second item for your consideration. It's a retaining wall between Volta and the park. It's for this proposal for the design only. It's not part of the current contract with AS Fournet. As y'all know, that current wall is made of asphalt and CMU block. We hope that the use of this park will really increase the usage of the area, but we feel like currently it's an eyesore with the asphalt and the CMU block and potentially safety issues. So we think now's the time, because there's still money, there's still funds left in the budget to at least get the proposal for the design of the retaining wall done, and then we can look at the we can take it to get quotes for it. But again, it'll be separate from the park, and it won't be included as part of that. So I think it's $2,300 for the design.
But there could be funds remaining.
There should be fun. Yes, there should be.
Make a motion to proceed.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Consider change order number 5 from Aloof Construction for additional contract time and zero cost for the wastewater treatment plant flow equalization project. Brianna?
Thank you. As I stated in the report, we have experienced an issue with our expansion joint material. We aren't yet sure what the cause is. We've got the basin poured, everything is complete, the aerators are in, the piping's in. We were essentially ready to put our lift station in use, our treatment basin in use, fill it up, but the expansion joint material is pulling apart the concrete joint. So I would ask to suspend contract time so that we can evaluate how we are going to repair this. The contractor and the engineer have been working with the supplier to get 2 new materials to try, well, 1 new material, and they're going to try a different material that was used successfully on the side slopes of the basin. So what we want to do is do a test strip, evaluate it, and see how it performs right now, and then we're going to come back and make a determination about removing the expansion joint material. I don't feel comfortable recommending at this point that we just leave that material in place as is. It may not be any problem, but it also could be that it peels apart and over time causes issues with our pumps. I'm just not sure, and we have not found anybody in our industry that's got experience that's seen this yet on this scale. The material supplier has not seen it like this. The engineer, that's what Burley does, and they have not experienced this before. So
Well, you got to figure it out.
we've got to figure it out, and I would like to take the issue of time off the table because contract time is expiring, and I don't want the contractor or the engineer to feel pressure to make a rapid decision, or for that matter, for me to feel pressure to make a rapid decision because of the fact that there are liquidated damages. Every day will cost damages. So I would like to suspend contract time, and I would like to do it from the period of December 1st through January 19th. December 1st being the last board meeting. They had asked if we could consider a request for COVID time at that board meeting, and they were also offering a deduct in the contract price for this expansion joint material at that time, and they requested that y'all hear that. I refused the request for a deduct in the material because I didn't feel comfortable with that at the time, and so they wanted to wait. And so because I wouldn't bring the issue forward, I would like to suspend time from that date forward, from December 1st to January 19th, which is your second meeting.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
it is. It is.
Waiting and seeing is always a good plan, in my
It's
opinion.
not like it's actually costing us extra money, we're just not.
Extending, right.
Correct.
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Consider a request for traffic calming on a portion of Suncrest Drive in Brittany Woods.
Yes, thank you. We, shortly after annexation, I received a call from Ms. Hutchins on Suncrest that her mailbox had been hit. It was hit so forcefully that it knocked it into the tree across the street.
Holy cow.
And that was not the first time it had been hit. It has been hit since then. So just since annexation, her mailbox has been hit. She lives in a curve on Suncrest, and people come around that curve so fast that they lose control and hit her mailbox in there. So we have done a traffic study out there to see the speed, and I noted in my report that the speed was higher. It's 29 miles per hour, and it's posted on one street at 15, on one street at 20. There are existing speed humps in this section, that speed bumps that the county put in. They're like the little Kroger-style bumps that we don't recommend, and that we're gonna install a series of them, kind of like we've done on Vivian. We went out to meet with her to look at traffic calming, and we were looking at making recommendations for Stripe. Well, while out there to meet and look, Russ actually observed with Alderman Atkinson a car nearly lose control, and there was a kid playing in the yard right there that if they hadn't gotten back in the control, they would have hit that child in the yard. So it's obviously a recurrent issue. The accident, the damage notes the recurrence of it. We installed one speed table in error. We had a miscommunication, and so we installed it before the survey was complete, but we have not received any complaints. So I do want to let y'all know that we got a little ahead of ourselves, but we've not received any complaints about it, and I've observed it functioning in place, and traffic is slowing down at that speed hump. Ms. Hutchins went, according to our policy, and collected surveys of her neighbors, and she's collected 75% signatures, yes, so signatures of support. In her zone, she also collected additional surveys outside her zone, and the way that Brittany Woods is laid out on a grid, it allows you to, we can install speed humps in different zones, and people can pick in their own area. So if someone doesn't want the speed to go over the speed table, they can avoid it, unless they're in this zone, and the residents of this zone support it. No.
Doesn't our policy call for you need to have 80%?
Our policy says that you can, that the board can, it says that that's recommended, but the board can make a motion without it having to be exactly 80%. So and there is, I did note that there's one of the houses in here that's for sale that she can't reach anybody. So if you consider that, that would bring the 75% up as well. So.
Okay, Brianna, on the map, the pink lines, is that where the speed humps are?
That's where they would be proposed, and so you see a series down here in Zone 1.
In the curve.
In the curve, and that's the area that we're really looking at. There's also one at the top of Zone 1 that we may not install right now because those two neighbors, they've not they've not expressed concern about it, but they've also not signed for support. So that one that's up there, we may not install right now until we can confirm those neighbors' opinions.
Yeah.
Because it's in their front yard. But you see that the neighbors in the area, the house 1002 down there, that's the house that's for sale. So you see that all of the neighbors in the area of where these speed humps would be are in favor.
Okay.
So I would recommend, considering the accident history, the fact that we've annexed this and they already had speed bumps in this area.
Is that the curve down there by 1002?
It is, yes.
I'll make the motion for, to approve it.
I'm thinking though, and I'm just saying this because there's so many residents that aren't living on Vivian who are affected by the ones that they have to go through, and that we're not whole. And I was just gonna say, I really think we should do the ones on the curve right there before we start doing everything else, and then see how the residents, how they feel about it, because there's a lot of people that are not in favor of the ones that we do.
Yes. And that is one thing in considering this, is that you can absolutely avoid, especially these three that are in series. If you don't want to go over those, you can go out and go up Hillmont, you can go around Cedar Crest from the top, and so there are ways to go around that allow you to avoid them.
I also want to add, I've had other residents in other zones call wanting to know, can you come around on the area? So it's not just zone one. Zone one just was the zone that
She was sponsoring.
and she was really concerned about.
I'm all, if they want them, I'm all for it. And they're a different type of neighborhood. When Vivian was done, they did 10 or 12 residents on Vivian, and they didn't do Chickasaw, Cherokee Hills, Choctaw, any other residents, any other streets that go by there every day. And those are the ones that are saying, why do I have to go on the speech limit?
And that is more complicated. And this one thankfully is clearer. And the residents in this area are definitely for it.
Well, and Keisha and I have been very honest with the residents in every meeting and have said, drive by Vivian, go down University Avenue, that's what we're talking about, make sure that you want this. And so, I mean, they certainly are going into it with their eyes open, and we have shared that story about getting complaints from Vivian and all with the residents that are in favor, so.
I've spoken to you a couple of times about the rubberized pipe, which are really good. I've seen in other cities. If they do have a problem, or if you need to move it 100 yards or whatever, you're able to pick it up and move it instead of a big pad of concrete.
Yes, and we are getting quotes on that from our material supplier, because I think that's a great idea, and it would allow us to implement them and see how they work for a year.
It looks like you can go over fast. You can't.
No. No.
They're just as good as concrete. I mean, but if you do have an issue, if you need to move it 50 feet or whatever, pick it up and move it.
Yes. And I think I think it's worth having in our stockpile so that we can try it out, and even if it were to come up after 6 months, we can pick it up and move it and install a permanent asphalt or concrete one.
Okay, so we had a motion, and did we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. Consider renaming certain streets that were annexed into the city limits.
Yes, this list that you're provided, this is not all of the streets. I'll be back later with additional streets, but these are city streets that we will maintain, and most of these streets are extensions of existing roads. So for example, at the top of the list is County Road 101. That will be named North Lamar Boulevard. It's an extension of North Lamar. So we are, where we've got these existing roads, we're just extending that name for continuity. There are a couple of other ones in here that we're just naming by their what they were commonly known as. There's no question, and that's what the residents know them as. So I've got this list. I noted in the report that due to the municipal and judicial elections, these changes won't go into place until probably late fall 2021. We have a window that the Secretary of State allows Jeff Busby to input changes into the system. We also have to work with the post office, because the post office has to manually input every address change. So when we met back earlier last year about this, they said it takes about 10 minutes per address change. So right now, with everything going on, it's just not possible for us to get the post office and the circuit clerk to get all those changes in by February 15th to implement them sooner. So it'll be later in the fall when you see these changes come through. But I do want to go ahead and get the names.
Well, a lot of people, when they pull Logan Road, everything else, it'll say County Road.
Yes, and the reason that we have to have it input in a certain time, because we'll have to send out voter registration cards to everyone before the. So we will, when we change the addresses, we will take care of all of those changes on their behalf, much like we're doing with Oxford Utilities. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. So
I got a letter this afternoon that I need to pass to you. I opened it at 4:45 before I walked in here to the meeting, from the family of Leonard Thompson, asking, saying that they were recently annexed into the city and would like their annexed area named Leonard Thompson Road, but they don't list an address or an area, so I'm not sure where that is. I didn't want us to vote on renaming something that's on this list without considering this, but I don't know, and the return address is a P.O. box. So sorry, I didn't have time to research it before I walked.
It
is right, like you're going about it, the church, the private church on top of River Hill, make a right, that's the one she's talking about.
Okay, is it on this list? It's not newly
I didn't see
annexed.
it on this list,
That's not newly annexed.
Yeah,
We didn't find out what the name of that road is now. Then we can maybe change it.
but that was just new land, and last.
It is newly annexed?
Across from Rivers Hill?
No, you go to the top of the hill,
Yeah.
at the light, and make a right. You know, right by the, car dealer.
Oh, you're talking about 334.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're talking about 334, across from
Yeah,
TOMB.
that's the one she's talking about.
Okay, I'm sorry. TOMB, the Tomb Building? And we can dig through all that and figure it out. The only reason I wanted to bring it up is I didn't want us to vote tonight. Yeah, I don't want to vote on something tonight before we consider this, because I'd like to consider this, and I didn't want to name it something else tonight.
That it's not, yeah.
But I don't know where it is, so. Yeah, I don't either. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know whether we, sure, I'm not sure it's not on here, is my point.
But the road she's talking about, this is what I'm talking about, she live on that road, right near that car dealer, you know.
And it's not on this?
She live on the second house down from that.
What I said was that road may be on this list, is not on this list being named after Mr. Clinton.
That's what I know. I didn't want to vote tonight as a board to name it something other than that. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Wilson Road is on here, that's who you're talking about.
No, she's talking
No.
about.
I mean, so what do we do?
We can always change it, but you see where it says Wilson Road, and then it says the note, the end was in the city before the last annex, so that might be.
But no,
Wilson
the
Road is
the road
off of
she-
University Avenue down in the
Yeah,
other direction.
the road she's talking about, go down University Avenue, all the way down to the car dealer, there's a light there.
Maybe that
And
is.
then you, at the next street is Slacks, I believe, and you go, right around the church. It's a church right there.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect it's not on this list, looking at the list.
Well, can we approve it with the condition that if we determine that this particular road is?
Yeah, I don't want to hang us up. I just didn't want us to.
Yes, I do.
Yes, it does. Second by Bailey, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Sorry I made that harder than it had to be. I just didn't want to mess it up. Consider acceptance of maintenance for the Sisk Avenue Extended Project.
Yes, and this is the project that the city and the county partnered to build. We annexed the road during construction, and the board voted at that time to name it FD Buddy East Parkway. We are ready now to accept maintenance. The punch list has been completed, and this also does include the traffic signal, so this would start a 1-year warranty period. And I do recommend that you accept the water, street, and signal infrastructure for the Sisk Avenue Extended Project.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Rihanna. Bart, consider a revised development agreement with Oakmont.
Several months we came before you and discussed revising the development agreement to allow an additional 78 units to be constructed between Oakmont and Briarwood. We've worked through the details of the agreement. We have it in front of you. I do want to make a couple of changes to the version you're looking at. The agreement will be between the City of Oxford and Shady Creek Properties LLC, Oakmont Oxford LLC, and JWM Development LLC. We also have a date that we included. You see some blanks on the second page of the agreement under section 4. Those dates are now filled in as April the 1st, 2021, and be completed before August the 31st of 2021.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
This is the one right there off
No, sir. This is up off of Industrial Park Drive. Up.
And Bart, while they're making those changes, paragraph 4 says the work contemplated in the London's report will
it should say begin operating before it says being.
Move we approve with changes and
I understand. Gotcha.
approval from council. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next is to consider an MOU between the City of Oxford and the office of Congressman Trent Kelly.
You have the MOU, they typically do these MOUs over a longer period of time, but because of the upcoming municipal election, we'll just extend their time in their office from January the 3rd through June the 30th of 2021. That'll allow.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Consider the disposal of property jointly owned by the City of Oxford and Lafayette County at the intersection of Elliott Drive and South Lamar.
Obviously, we dispose of property on occasion. Not usually do we dispose of it with another entity being part owner. This is a small piece of property that adjoins some of the Overstreet property at the intersection of Elliott Drive and South Lamar. If you agree to allow us to move forward, we'd like to work with Lafayette County to get an appraisal, so we'll know what the property's worth, so we can start that process. I do believe if you decide to declare it surplus, this could potentially be one that you would not bid, that you would say it's only valuable to those people that are adjacent to it, because we're talking about something that's less than 1/10 of an acre. It's not a piece of property large enough for anybody to do anything standalone on it. Just want to know if you'd like us to move forward in looking at exploring, declaring it surplus and disposing of it.
Bart, the buildings that are on the adjacent property, they all belong to, they're all Overstreet property?
Yeah, the actual piece of property is between South Lamar and Jefferson.
I know exactly where it is.
So
there's a driveway there that's,
Uh-huh.
there's a dentist there, there's a hairdresser, and
That piece of property north of it is Overstreet.
right there on that property line that's used by those businesses.
It is, the property adjacent is Overstreet. It's just one, that one tax parcel that you see shown just above the yellow line, that is Overstreet's,
okay.
that is Overstreet's property.
Does it include that driveway?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what is it?
And I'm not even so sure they don't have that.
The other, you get the other parcel includes the driveway.
The Overstreet.
The one we're thinking about disposing is not.
No, the one we're thinking about disposing does not
Okay,
have
so
the
those people will
driveway.
still have use of the driveway that they have now.
Well, I mean,
Well, let me clarify that.
I mean, it's hard to get
yeah,
at it.
clarify, because that's,
I'm not sure that they're not tenants of Overstreet also, but if their driveway is not on our piece of property, it is on Overstreet's piece of property. So I can't say that they have use of a driveway that's not on the city's
ours, yeah.
property. Assuming they have other agreements in place, or,
You think this includes that, could be recalled or something? I don't see a driveway around here.
it's the driveway
It's
just
there,
to the
It's right, it's adjacent to that last,
northeast corner.
I'm talking one right below the building.
I'm talking about, you think that's a driveway?
I beg your pardon, it's south of the building, it's on the south.
This is not, they're saying this is the driveway.
Well, their entrance is back here. They actually carved on that piece of property for city.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Anyway, you were saying, nobody else can buy this except the person that owns this building.
Exactly right.
So,
Well, I don't.
You're afraid to.
Yeah.
They say it's worth $1 million, it's just an acre.
but my question on that though is, if somebody was to build something there, which right now we're assuming you would have to be Middle Street. But if somebody was to build it, you have to have a certain amount of parking.
That's right.
So.
You have to meet setback requirements and.
You have to do all that stuff. If it went to the Overstreet, I'm getting way ahead of ourselves, if it went to the Overstreet, could they include it into that building? And, I mean, I guess I think the planning commission to ask that question.
They may have to, re-subdivide.
That's what I'm saying.
What
Which
the-
then they've got to get permission from anybody else that's subdivision.
We were, the way it came up, we were approached by the property manager for Overstreet Properties. And they asked if the city had any use for that property. They don't have any immediate plans, but they're looking at their long-range plan of a redevelopment of that whole area. And that's why they were exploring.
The reason maybe I tried to ask that question, which I didn't ask about it, you said it's not any good for anybody except for the people that own it. Well, that also means it's not any good for the Overstreets if they just try to put something there. They're gonna have to add on
You have,
something else.
Yes, that's right.
That's
You have to
right.
have adjacent,
Come to us for something.
you have
That's
to
right.
have adjacent
Yeah, of
property, and
course.
you'd have to redo a site plan to be able to utilize it, exactly.
Well, I mean, you can, whatever the board asks you to do, of course, you can get appraisal, whatever, but let me ask this, is there any concern that selling that property would then require the city 10 or 20 years from now, if they want to expand or change the rights of way of South Lamar, they've lost that much of that property that they'll have to go back and condemn or see? Because
That's always a concern with any piece that we dispose of. In this instance, we're so hamstrung on South Lamar that we would obviously have to, that would be.
That's right. I mean,
there's a lot of stuff there, right?
all right. Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, I'll ask the board to consider an executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? The board will now consider an executive session.